Welcome back. President Jacob Zuma says urgent intervention is needed to save South Africa's mining industry. He's holding a high-level meeting with mine bosses and all trade unions to discuss progress in bringing about lasting stability and sustainability in the mining sector. President Zuma says the meeting takes place under very difficult conditions. He says the challenges faced by a commodity-based economy like South Africa have been triggered by a global economic meltdown. Well, the president has also congratulated the stakeholders for signing an historic deal that seeks to minimize massive job losses by encouraging company executives to delay retrenchments until all avenues have been explored. The mining stakeholders signed the framework agreement on the stability and sustainability of the mining industry about a year and a half ago, following the explosion of violence in the Platinum Belt in 2012. Now, former Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe was in charge of that framework agreement, but now President Zuma has taken over and is overseeing the process himself. Well, Mogeni Mutua has been covering that meeting in Pretoria. He joins us now. Mogeni, good afternoon. Perhaps just give us a context of this meeting. As I understand it, this forum was formed as a result of instability and violence of 2012 in the Platinum Belt.
Absolutely, Devin. That's what happened. You remember in 2012, it was the height of the rivalry between NUM and AMCU. There was violence, killings and so on, culminating in the Marikana incident. Even after Marikana, the killings continued, sometimes even on mine premises. It was in that context that the government called all the stakeholders around the table. Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe then was in charge of this process, it culminating in the signing of this framework agreement on sustainability in the mining industry. Interestingly, AMCU, having attended the meetings, they did not sign the agreement. They did not commit themselves to what was agreed upon. Now it's a year and a half since the agreement was signed. AMCU still hasn't signed the agreement. When they didn't sign, they said they still need to consult their members. And after the agreement was signed, a few meetings were held to look at progress. AMCU did not attend all those meetings. Interestingly, today, AMCU is here attending. In fact, it's represented by its president, Joseph Machunjwa, and it's going to be very interesting to find out at the end of today's meeting where AMCU stands with regards to putting pen to paper and committing itself, just like all the other stakeholders, to what is being done to bring about stability and ending violence and intimidation in the mines, Devin.
All right, okay, before I pursue my second question, I can't help but notice a rather quiet setting behind you. Some empty chairs. This was supposed to have started at 1 o'clock, was it not?
Absolutely. The meeting has been going on for just over 3 hours now. I think you can tell that clearly the issues are hot and they are burning and people are discussing. We've just learned that they are now dealing with the last presentation. Who is making that presentation? We don't know, of course, we're not in the meeting. But we understand, and we were told before the meeting started, that the main thing about today's meeting is to brief the president, since, of course, he took over this process himself following the departure of Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe from government. So they were going to brief him on exactly what has been going on, with regard to this process up until now, what are the outstanding issues and what needs to happen going forward. Of course, as you alluded in your introduction, this meeting comes at a time when the mining industry is now facing new challenges. It's not necessarily, the issues now are not mainly the violence and the instability in the mines, but it's the issue of sustainability of the mining industry. Of course, the agreement talks to that as well. The mining industry, we all know, is facing a lot of difficulties with regards to export volumes and profitability and so on. You've got wage negotiations currently taking place, which may culminate in a strike. So obviously those issues will have to be discussed in this meeting. In fact, I spoke to the General Secretary of Solidarity earlier on. I grabbed him as he was walking to the meeting, and he did make exactly that point, that whatever is being done and discussed here, the true test of this process is going to be when, if and when, we see a strike in gold and coal in the coming months. At this point, we can take a listen at exactly what he had to say.
We are now entering a phase that there might be a gold and a coal strike, so then only will we be able to determine if there's a decrease in violence and intimidation, but the early signs are not positive, and hopefully this time the rule of law will be restored rather sooner than later.
Mogeni, of course, this forum comes just 2 weeks after mining bosses and unions signed an agreement to deal with job losses and retrenchments. Of course, there's a strong link between sustainability in the sector and jobs, I would think.
Absolutely, Devin. All the issues that relate to the mining industry are related. And of course, the mining industry, in as much as it has kind of shrunk over the last decade or so in terms of its contribution to GDP, it's still a very crucial industry in South Africa. It still employs hundreds of thousands of people, and most of whom are unskilled, uneducated people who would otherwise not be able to find jobs easily in other sectors of the economy. So it's very crucial. And that agreement that was signed last week was actually about the current situation, the massive wave of joblessness that we're seeing, people coming to discuss and agreeing on what can be done to avoid these massive retrenchments. As we speak, 11,000 people or jobs are on the line, if not more. Retrenchments, companies are announcing retrenchments almost every day. So that issue is absolutely related to this one. In fact, I spoke to the Minister of Mineral and Resources as he was walking into this meeting as well. And I asked him exactly about that issue, and he did say that all these issues are very much related. We can take a listen at what he had to say as well.
Because, I mean, one of the key elements of the steps recognized under the framework agreement was sustainable mining, long-term, short-term. And so when you're talking job, saving of jobs, you are then speaking directly to the issue of sustainable mining.
Mining Minister Ngwako Ramatlori there. And Mogeni Mutua in Pretoria, thanks indeed for talking to us. More from him in the later bulletins.